rainy, sweaty Friday.
Funny, I missed all the rain.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I got caught in both ends. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds exciting.
Whoa.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. No, I walk out and look. Oh, ground's completely soaked. Didn't hear anything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's really cold. Wow, around where I am, like the rain just
Like
brings
really
in this
cold or cold for the season?
Oh, cold for the season.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like yeah, because it's always about 5 degrees cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I got here and just
Yeah. It's just like a hot,
humidity.
wet, like towel just like slapped across you, right? And just like that's the level of humidity. You're just like, oh,
Yes.
there's like a physical barrier when you walk out of a building. Yeah.
Right. Oh, hey Matt. Hey Miguel. Hey Crispin. How's it going? Nice full chat of members and and wrench wielders. Excellent. Oh yeah, talking about GenCon. Yeah, we'll be talking about GenCon a little bit. Just a little. Yeah, it's a pretty packed week, so we'll hit everything lightly because there's a lot going on. All right. So how was your week in gaming?
Non-existent.
Just pining for GenCon.
Yeah, just put in. Yeah, then all those people packed together and the transmission.
That sounds
pining
good.
for it. Yeah.
Did they do that? One of the conventions got a little bit in trouble for saying, "And could you please shower before you come?"
Oh,
they
really?
like officially said that. I don't know if it was like UK Game Expo or one of them said, "Yeah, come on, can you shower? Would it hurt?" So I guess
People
we
are
know
so
what we're
sensitive.
talking about. Yeah, right. Yeah. So tomorrow, Blade Runner will finally be happening.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's finally a thing, and I can't wait. I've immersed myself in like Blade Runner media for a while, so I'm all set to do this. And it kind of makes sense now. I get what Free League is doing.
Okay.
By setting movies or games based on movie IPs where it's kind of weird, disparate sequels and stuff. Setting it kind of in the middle or in this like more indistinct time, so you can kind of make it your own. You know, you can fill in details and stuff. It's like, I like this from this movie. I don't like this. So like when we did Alien, I kind of like ramped the technology up to Prometheus levels, which wasn't really the intent of the game, but that was like what felt fun, and also moved the game a lot faster because we had like no time.
Yeah. No, so that was good. Yeah. No, and I agree because we've talked before about how IPs are cool. But if you only use those bits, like, what are we doing? Are we just replaying existing media, and is that fun? Okay, sometimes. But if, like, you can play in the spaces that the official media has left, then it's kind of like, okay, we can actually kind of do something that's ours with this. Whether it's like, okay, Star Wars game, we're, like, out on the edge, right? Where there's been no official media. We can kind of do whatever we want. Yeah, and same with Alien. Okay, we'll play in between these movies, right? So,
yeah, and give you some room. Yeah, because I noticed that in the PC game, the Blade Runner PC game, you run into your character who is not Deckard runs into another Blade Runner runs into, Tyrell's niece in the elevator, and it's like there's like they have it because of the time that it takes place. You run into characters that they've not been killed or not been not disappeared yet. So that's a little odd, but I mean, they want to tie it to the movie, and it was only based on the one film. There wasn't any other media really that was based on. So that's the thing. I don't think you want to do too much in the games, but yeah. Yeah,
like too many cameos or anything, stuff like that. I guess, relatedly, over the last weekend, I saw, Minions Rise of Gru, right? It was the first movie.
Were you wearing a suit?
I was not. First movie experience for my daughter, so it's mostly more for her.
Nice,
and of course, as a kids movie here in Japan, it was dubbed in Japanese, right?
Right.
So no English. So anyway, but they weren't really callbacks. But this is like the 5th movie in the series now,
God,
right?
Really?
They're actually getting better, right? Honestly, but there were enough no spoilers. There were enough callbacks to locations and characters from like that first movie, but like they weren't really plot crucial. It's just like, oh, they've gone back to this place, or oh, look, you can see that in the distance, or oh, here's this character kind of before we met them in the first one.
Oh, right.
So it was
wow.
You didn't need to, like, my partner hasn't watched any of them because he keeps falling asleep during them. Like, you didn't need to have watched any of those movies for it to make sense. But for people who did, it's kind of like, oh, okay, a nice little callback. So I think it's kind of the same with IP RPGs, like just enough of a sprinkling to go, yes, we're definitely playing in this IP universe without making it like super plot critical for someone to go, actually that person should be dead. And you're like, buddy, get the fuck out of the game, right?
Right,
like, we're gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm all hyped. I got my Astral all fired up to just be cut off. I can't believe as I went through. Yeah, right. I went through and built actions to roll dice and everything. I'm like, this is going to just be deleted. Yeah, that's the brutality of digital stuff. Is it just you flip?
I like your mentality. You're just it's kind of like a massive fuck you. I'm doing it anyway.
right. Yeah, we're gonna
instead of this what's the point? You're like, nope, we're going out with a goddamn bang.
Right. I'm going to play up until the 30th.
Yep.
The midnight on the 30th. We'll watch it all
why
burn.
Why am I still doing it? Because fuck you. That's why. Yeah.
Right. All right, well, let's get started.
Sure.
So busy week this week. A lot of stuff kept coming my way. So I'm like, okay, we'll cover it all, just not in depth. But
Shotgun approach.
Yeah, we'll reference everything. All right, let's do this. A nice sniff and everything. I'm going to delete. I'm going to have to cut all that out. All right. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, harassment at GenCon 2022. SpiceDAO looking for a buyer.
Ooh.
Actually, they don't even exist anymore. Dragonbane Rpg. Warmachine MkIV. And Wicked Ones. And a new expansion on Kickstarter.
Ooh, okay.
So let's get started with the ugliness. And as you may have noticed, we have already set up our BIPOC lounge at the Weekly here. So we're featuring Eric M. Lang's work, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So, 50%. And that leads us to the controversy of our first story. So it kind of I think what got the trolls and the edgy kids all fired up here. So GenCon has reported harassers targeting marginalized attendees.
Okay, I have heard this. Yep.
Yeah. So but they're saying, so initially they're like, well, obviously somebody hacked their the information, the registration information or something. This is GenCon's fault. This is GenCon's fault. Or it's volunteers or someone working with GenCon. Right. So they got blamed, and GenCon's like, no, we would never contact people this way because it's all text messages and phone calls. So we would never contact people this way. We would just send them an email from a gencon.com address. And the messages, which they've reviewed some of the harassment. So people are sending in screenshots and things of harassment. So bigoted language, threats of violence, and Nazi dog whistles that were sent to people. And GenCon's response so far has been that's not us. And it seems to be linked to social media. Okay. So it's people that have had clashes on Twitter or Reddit or wherever with people of color or LGBTQ plus people, and decided to dig and get some information. And so, either doxed them themselves or found somebody that had information so that then they could harass them. So August 2nd, Latia Jacques, sorry about the pronunciation, a community manager at Monte Cook Games, shared a Twitter screenshot of something that they received. A text message that said, "This is GenCon security. I'm having to ask you to empty your purse and pockets. I've gotten reports of an uppity black woman stealing dice and cell phones. Ma'am, please calm down. Stop resisting. All right, that's it. We're going downtown. Why can't you people behave?" So just typical Reddit 4chan nonsense. Somebody trying to be cute and show off to their their group. So the people have continually been filing this. Kelsey Magpie Danger, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisor, that's the consultant for GenCon, said, GenCon officials don't suspect that any information was leaked or that it was insider collusion. The interactions were from bad actors online that have already had previous clashes on social media. So what brought the attention to this, and why did I reference a BIPOC lounge? Well, the conservative media got a hold of this email that went out to GenCon attendees that announced that this year they would be featuring, and let me get the details here. This year at GenCon, in partnership with Rose Gauntlet Entertainment, we will be providing a lounge area for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, professionals and attendees. Attendees will find games created by BIPOC designers, a BIPOC creators game library, and BIPOC art, scheduled events, giveaways, refreshments, and a space to meet with fellow members of the community. Aspiring professionals will find a space to meet other professionals, sign up for one-on-one meetings, and obtain resources on companies hoping to work with and mentor BIPOC creators, etc. That sounds fine. It's like at a bookstore.
Well, okay, sure. It sounds fine.
Yeah, right.
We all
But
know
yeah,
the
that's.
result.
I mean, it's like at a bookstore. It's like here's authors of color. Here's women. Here's young authors, or even most conventions. There's an indie area to kind of let you focus on not the big boys and see what actual creators that invest themselves in their work are doing. So
That's a bit low.
Immediately, this was interpreted as there's a velvet rope that's going to say no whites allowed and no non-BIPOC allowed, and that's exactly what happened. There's this huge debate. I think this is not inclusion. This is keeping people out. They shouldn't have said lounge, because I think that conjures the image of like fans and being fed grapes and velvet ropes, and like this is an exclusive area for special people. And because that lounge also means, if you're dealing with airlines or whatever, a place to get away from the crowds, a place to cool down, have some refreshments. That's not what this is. This is a networking spot for people, and focusing on that.
Excellent point. However, there is no way or no name that you could have called this thing where trolls would not be upset. So on the one hand, BIPOC Lounge. Fuck you. That's what we're calling it, right? Because you're going to be mad anyway. So.
Right. Well, that's a good point. And I think, I forget where they said that it leaked, but some conservative news source ran with this, and then the invasion of yet another cherished hobby of white nerds. It's like okay, but so that's a shame. That's really a shame. And so I think this should be part of the segment of this is why we can't have nice things.
We all know why we can't have nice things, right? And if you're one of the people wondering, no, I think we have nice things. I don't really get into this. You're part of the fucking problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a shame, because we're seeing a rise of like more organized groups that are focusing on all like BIPOC produced creators working on projects together, doing things. Even Wizards of the Coast did a supplement.
That Radiant Citadel.
Yeah. Right. So there's some attention. So there needs to be some energy and some focus, and it's not excluding no one's game is getting thrown out the door because they're not a part of this group.
I forget who I had this discussion with before, but it was a similar discussion like years ago. And it's like, okay, I guess in a sense you could say this is exclusion, right? But like, okay, I'm going to do another metaphor, right? Like if you go to like an AA meeting, right? And you don't have, maybe that's a bad analogy, but I'll run with it, right? If you go to an AA meeting and you're like not an alcoholic, right? You're kind of expected to sit there and shut the fuck up, because this thing is not about you. Right? If you go, well, I'm not an alcoholic, but I do this, then like your experience is not what's being centered here, right? We're not saying don't come. We're saying this is for people with this experience or of this identity. And if that's not you, maybe sit down and shut the fuck up. Right? So even if you want to contribute, right? Like you're not going to have the same experience. You don't, either because you didn't have that experience or that's not your identity. So it's not that we don't want you to contribute. It's that not here, because you can't contribute the thing that, or you can't contribute to what the discussion is about.
Right. Yeah, I'm a little bit offended that you equated indigenous people and alcoholism, but hey!
Okay, like I said, that was a bad analogy, and I apologize. That was like, okay, taken out of context, or I see how that's.
Somebody's clipping it right now.
Yeah, can we have a sensitivity reader, right? Yeah, right? Okay, that was a bad example, right?
No, I understand what you're saying, and it's too bad that I don't know. It's just a spotlight, a feature. Every con does that. They focus on a company. They focus on somebody that's doing something that's like, building up momentum or getting attention. And the fact that this has to be like, oh, well, you're just being exclusionary by being inclusionary. It's impossible.
It's like the affirmative action with people were like, okay, they're not getting the spotlight because they earned it or they deserved it. It's like they're getting the spotlight because of who they are, right? So you're never going to make those people happy. So a hearty fuck you.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Indiana is pretty much still the home of the three guys that still think they're in the clan. So I think the PR, I think it was something dropped by the GenCon PR. I think they should have been a little bit more aware of kind of who they were dealing with and how they were going to run with that, and not Yeah, not make themselves a target like
Well,
that.
on the other hand, like, if this had came out any other way, they were going to be a target anyway. So I still kind of go with the people are going to be mad anyway.
Yeah, that's true. If they messaged
not?
all attendees,
Yep,
yeah, that's
yep.
true. That's true. Well, moving on to something that we teased last week, the SpiceDAO is no more.
Oh.
Yes. So they have...
The spice has flown?
the spice has flown all out. Yeah, so they've changed their name to Spice Club, and this is part of this transformation that they're in the midst of.
Okay, I got to stop you right here.
Yes.
This sound, and like no shade here.
Right.
This sounds like a group who like the Spice Girls.
It could be. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it sounded they've shifted away from Frank Herbert and they're focusing directly on Sporty Spice. Yes, so as we remember, these are the fellows, the collective of, of individuals that purchased the Jodorowsky Dune production Bible, pre-production Bible.
Sorry, remind me, did they purchase a physical copy?
Yes, they have a physical copy for roughly $3 million, and that was pooled resources from their DAO, which is an Ethereum-based coin or token that they have. So to be part of this, you buy their Spice token. And of course, the kind of first stumble and complete collapse of crypto meant that their coffers just dried up completely. They found out what they intended to do wasn't possible to do. They wanted to archive, make NFTs, and make available the contents of this book. They don't have the rights to do that. They want to produce stuff based on it. They don't have permission from the Frank Herbert.
That's what it was. For some reason, they thought purchasing a physical book somehow meant they then owned the rights to the images and stuff in these books. And sorry, bros, that's not how it works.
So this is part of their redemption phase 1, where they're transitioning into Spice Club. They're offering people to burn off their tokens for a small, very small percentage of what they probably originally bought them for in Ethereum, or to still continue to participate and get a share of the money because they still have active projects. They commissioned one of the writers for Love and Robots to write something. They're doing NFTs with Frank Miller. I don't know how that is a thing.
So back to racism.
Right, yeah. So anyhow, so you can still kind of participate in this, or you can just kind of jump ship. It sounds really silly. And the one of the founders said they really wish it would have worked out better, I guess was the quote from them. So
I think that's a nice way of saying we should have done a research.
Yeah, we should have known what the heck we're doing. So, I mean, that's good, though. I was worried that the rise of these, like, power, like, with actual financing behind them, these fandoms and power groups.
Actual financing and crypto, right?
Right. Well, it was actual for a while.
It was,
And then, so I was really worried that this was going to be the rise of these horrible hordes of, like, actual financed fans that were going to have influences on things and be buying things out. But not. It's not.
Didn't mean to bring this up, but, like, you saying that, like, okay, yeah, it was crypto. Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, the people that were behind it were kind of naive. But it does kind of show that if you get enough people together with enough capital, you can actually do something. Right. So, and I think unfortunately, I think more and more that's what's going to have to happen to make any kind of meaningful change in any part of society, right? Enough people get together with enough money to just kind of, kind of challenge these big corporations and stuff.
Yeah, so but we're going to be seeing a lot of implosion and stuff because people don't have a lot of people, especially the people that make their money this way, aren't.
You mean grifters?
Yeah, aren't very well intended people, and they're looking to pull rugs and leave town. So, yeah, it's going to be rough. And at this time, there is no official or no willing buyer for this insanely overpriced. They wanted to try to get the price back to the original that they paid, and it's way overvalued, like maybe more than 5 times what anybody would even pay for the book. So so that's all for that. we won't be seeing that anymore, and hopefully they are paying, and it's coming out of their treasury right now. They are paying for the actual maintenance of that book, so it's in storage where it's not going to be damaged. It's not under somebody's bed or in a garage or anything.
Right. Oh, interesting. All right.
So we'll see. I got an email.
Ooh. An
email that I was wondering what happened. So we talked about the sale of IPs from RiotMinds. So RiotMinds dumped everything. And I'm like, well, wait. RiotMinds has Dragons and Demons, the original. They have that's how they were founded. They have the rights to Drakar och Demoner, the rights of that original 40-year-old Swedish RPG. What happened to that?
Yeah.
Well, we just found out. Free League announced Dragonbane. So Dragonbane is going to be a new edition of the very first Swedish RPG, and finally in English after 40 years. So I was always under the impression that Trudvang Chronicles was
the translation.
Yeah, it was an English translation, but perhaps it is a different system after all, because but that company did own the rights. But so that was the illusion. That was what I was the assumption I was under supporting that game. But this is going to be a new take on this. They want to update, of course. So maybe learning from the mistakes of RiotMinds. If that was the original system, then maybe people were just a little bit turned off by the crunchiness, and the modern tastes just wouldn't make it that popular.
It was a stale, musty one.
But the announcement said, "We are thrilled to announce Dragonbane Rpg, brand new edition of Sweden's first biggest tabletop role-playing game, Drakar och Demoner, now to be published in English for the first time." So back in '82. So this makes it the 40th anniversary. So this is a brand new and reimagined edition. So one foot firmly planted in the heritage of decades of Swedish gaming, and the other in the modern and innovative game design for which Free League is known worldwide.
I got this email as well, and I was mildly curious, less mildly, when I saw the heft of the book in the mock-up picture, where it's massive, where, I don't know, just giant books, just like, they're not an additive factor for me. I look at that and go, why? Right? But I am we've talked before about how, not insular is maybe the wrong word, but how kind of regional TTRPGs can get.
Right.
And now with the rise of technology, in communications, it's easier for these kind of disparate groups that have developed their own TTRPG culture and own games in different locations to kind of cross-pollinate and share ideas. And that's the part that interests me. I want to... I'm actually a little bit less interested to hear it's a modern take. Like, I understand they're not just going to reprint the old rules. I kind of want to see what those old rules look like, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to go, like, what started this in Sweden 40 years ago, right? What did that look like? But on the other hand, 4 decades of growth and improvement and stuff, like, okay, what does it look like now, right? And of course, I have nothing to compare that against except what's currently happening with D&D. And I hope to God this is not 5e compatible, because that would be if it ends up being 5e compatible just because that's how close the systems are, cool. If they go, nope, we're going to retrofit it for... I don't want to see that, right? I want to see what Swedish gaming kind of looked like.
Right. So. And the thinking that's their whole different take and something separate. I think they should position themselves directly against 5e instead of saying, well, we want the sales. I mean, going to Kickstarter, they are looking to...
That seems to be, unfortunately, what Free League is doing now, because Blade Runner did it.
Yeah. So they're testing. Yep. And maybe there isn't enough knowledge of, this is the original game. And also because it's a new edition. Yeah.
Or like you said, because if they are going up against 5e, maybe some people said, you know what, there's just too big of a risk here. Let's kickstart it.
Right. So this new edition is designed from the ground up to facilitate fast and furious play, very little prep and time and adventures that are a breeze to run. Very little prep time.
So Fast and Furious, kind of encroaching on Savage World.
There you go. And so this is the thing that made me go, okay, I'm not sure what this... so the game... Dragonbane is a game with room for laughs at the table and even a pinch of silliness at times. Well, that's going to happen. You don't have to build that into the rules or anything. We call this play style mirth and mayhem role playing. Okay. So, they're going to do a lot of adventure, a lot of adventures. There'll be a complete campaign in the starter set, and stretch goals will give you further adventures. I don't like them underlining the fact this is fun, this is wacky. It's like your table decides how wacky something is. The system doesn't need to, roll for laughs. It's not.
That being said, it's like, okay, it would never be like roll for laughs. But as someone who kind of feels that systems matter, and why are we playing? If we're going for this experience, let's choose a system that kind of reinforces and emulates that. Like, there are comedy games, right? Okay, I've never played it, but like Paranoia, right? And that's probably baked more into the setting than the system. Or even like Fiasco, something like Rules Light, like no part of the system, which is very light, encourages one sort of comedy, right? But like, you could play that as a comedy just because of how it works. So, yeah, it's one of those things, like, I'm kind of with you, where like, did you have to underline that? Or I'm sure it sounds like Mirth and Mayhem had capital M's, where I'm like, you probably didn't need to do that. Right? So, yeah.
Yeah, so, but hopefully this is going to be at least a love letter to that type of gaming and an update to make it more acceptable or make it more approachable, make it more playable, because it's not going to be like, basic role play. It's not going to be like a D100, basic role play system. So we'll see what they do. And if you're kind of following the continuum of like how they're evolving the Year Zero engine, this might be interesting because they may be using a range of, because Blade Runner is interesting. It's feels similar to what they did with Twilight 2000.
Right.
So it's interesting. I can see where they could go with this and still keep it very fantasy and have it not be exactly Forbidden Lands. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, a lot of people, recognizable people, are involved. Kind of the best that have been working with Free League. So Johan Egerskrans, and also a name I hadn't heard, but Nicholas Nacht-Odag. Okdog is a novelist that's going to be writing for them. So he writes a lot of historical, literary fiction. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So the illustrations and everything, I hope it's good. It's going to be a good quality product,
right?
And we'll see if they get us some early rules, like what this system will look like.
That's the part I'm interested in. Yeah, because I'm not. Fantasy is one of those genres where it's like you can do some really interesting stuff if you go the kitchen sink approach to try and encourage everybody, then that's like a turnoff for me. It's like, it's everything.
Right,
so
right.
Just relatedly, recently someone on Twitter posted up images, illustrations for the upcoming Spelljammer box set, right? Yeah. And this is related because they said, hey, let's focus in on this one. Those are space clowns. And look, they have a pie-flinging catapult on the back of their ship, right? And I went, okay, a couple things. One, that it's D&D 5e, so I probably won't be getting it. Two, the illustrations still look amazing. Like, that's great, fantastic artwork. Space clowns with a pie-throwing catapult would completely take me out of the game.
Right.
And, of course, that being the internet, people thought I meant they could not possibly exist, right? When I said, no, that would take me, very clearly, right? Read. But I guess getting back to what you said about, like, comedy, it turns out that in, like, the original Spelljammer, those space clowns are a direct reference to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the old 80s movie, which is actually pretty good. And they were purposefully put there as comedic relief to counteract or to go against sort of the cosmic horror background of Spelljammer, because you have all these kind of like evil alien races and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting, right? And that they're being included in this new one kind of made me think about, okay, well, they're there to inject wackiness. And I kind of did the same thing, like, this is something people at the table and individual groups are going to have to decide, like, what level of wacky do we want? And I had a couple discussions, or short discussions with people, where I said, like, okay, if the entire Spelljammer was pushed as sort of tune, then yes, okay, this makes perfect sense. This kind of fits for me. Otherwise, it's one of those things where some people are going to look and go, absolutely love it. This is fantastic. Other people are going to go, what the fuck, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I'm wondering about that mirth and mayhem for the Swedish RPG, like, what's it going to be? Is it going to be kind of like grim, dark fantasy? Then all of a sudden, whoa, yuck. Because if so, like, not really interested.
And I hope they do take a strong position on what this is, what the world is like, kind of like what they did with Forbidden Lands, where it's like, this is messed up, and halflings and goblins are kind of the same thing, and if you have a goblin baby, you kind of throw it out the window, and
or if you feed it after midnight.
So you there were a lot of like interesting kind of darker takes on fantasy tropes. So hopefully that's kind of built in, and I'm not sure like what the setting is going to be, because there were multiple settings for that game.
That's right.
Yeah,
so, you said Chronopia was one of them.
Right, Chronopia, Trudvang, and there's I think a third that was the original. So we'll see what they actually end up going with.
Well, now I'm wondering if you could play Chronopia on this.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Yeah, we should see if that works. Another email.
Oh.
Warmachine is getting a new edition. So Privateer Press is at it again. And I wasn't blown away by how they approach things. I took a look at some of they have the beta rules and beta cards for things. And it seems like they're simplifying and streaming down. Somebody equated it to what the entry-level Infinity is. There's a style of a play for Infinity Code 1 that kind of takes all the rules and cuts them down to nothing. It's like a free book or free PDF you can download so you can live strategy and all the complexity of how rules interact. But it gets you, buying some models, playing some games. And people said this is what this feels like, is they're really trying to bring people into it. It's a kind of a little too simplified. And they're rolling in. So people are like, well, wait, you're doing a new version of a Warmachine. What does that mean for Hordes? Well, Hordes is going to be kind of rolled into this setting. So eventually, maybe not right away, but eventually there'll either be there'll be warcasters or
warlocks.
Warlocks, that can run your little
I don't think that'll happen. Okay, I didn't read the rules, but as someone who tried to play Warmachine Mark I and Mark II and spent way too much fucking money back when the models were metal, and then tried to buy enough to play with every faction, then finally dumped on my stuff, and then 6 months later, a group here said, "Hey, let's start Warmachine." I said, "No, fuck you guys, right? I'm out." Right. So I'm a little bit sour on that. I read their goals, right? Their goals are to and I'm not going to run on. It was streamline this, simplify this, eliminate these kind of fiddly little movement rules. Facing is gone, right? They very clearly laid out the goals of what they wanted to do with the game. One of them was customizable warjacks and warbeasts, which makes sense from a model perspective. And rolling Hordes into Warmachine, in my opinion, makes sense, right? Because back when it was Mark II, you had to buy a Warmachine core rulebook and you had to buy a Hordes core rulebook. And they were standalone games, but they also worked together, right? It was different parts of the same world. Lots of rules were pretty much the same, except for how warjacks and warbeasts worked, and that difference was pretty cool, right? Okay, warcasters fed focus to their warjacks, where warlocks reaped fury from their beasts. And that difference was cool, right? But you could play them against each other, and for troops and stuff, the rules were essentially the same. So now saying we now have this one rule book where here's how warlocks work, here's how warcasters work. I'm not going to buy it, but I'm fine with that because they were essentially the same, two halves of the same game. And now, if you're going to be playing against them anyway, put everything in one book.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there was also a mention that they're going to do the miniatures. So they're doing all new miniatures, and they're doing it a different style where there'll be a lot of options. So the customization comes in. There'll be multiple heads, multiple arms in one kit, so you can build many different types of jacks from one kit. Or I guess it's you can configure that.
Pieces,
you can actually use the pieces, and you're not making a different. So people probably will. That's right, and they will be accounting for magnetizing. The miniatures will be built with all the little divots for your
because
rare
back
earth
when I did it, you had to do it yourself,
yes.
right? It was here's the ironclad warjack, but you'd also build this and this, and I'm like, well, fuck you guys. You gave me the stat cards for it. I'm going to magnetize this bitch, right? So War Beast was a little bit harder because of the way organics kind of fit together, but okay.
Yeah, so they're doing that, and the thing they're also promoting is 3D printed. So this is going to be in-house 3D printed resin, which I think they mean SioCast.
Okay.
It has to be, because I don't think anything else is going to be durable enough to actually ship.
Right.
So what they are saying is this is great. So everyone that can ship from Seattle, wherever Privateer Press is based, they're going to get great shipping. It's going to be produced very quickly, easily. But international players are going to have to wait for someone to set up manufacturing locally, and then it will be cheap and convenient.
So Privateer Press. Look, I'll go read this because Privateer Press has no plans to set up international printing.
They want to. Once a base can be set up for either Europe or Asia, then it's going to be cheap and wonderful and everything. But and actually not that cheap. But that's not happening yet. And if the game doesn't grow, if this version doesn't take off, it's not. So this could be a very localized North American game.
Yeah, it could. I guess the only. And I don't know if they would do this. One way to do that would be to not have an all call, but seek out the large production Etsy people. Or not necessarily excellent miniatures, but I'm thinking people like excellent miniatures and go, okay, look, we'll help you to license this stuff, right? Maybe not free, but partner with someone who's already doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually it would probably mean once Privateer Press was in a position to, or maybe they never would be, to set up their own overseas thing.
Right.
But I think doing that would give them not better PR, but like, hey, international people, your stuff will be just as cheap, or at least not as expensive, right? As American-only shipping.
Yeah, if you want a miniatures game to take off in Australia, produce it in Australia so people are not paying insane shipping.
Or Japan.
Or Japan.
Same thing,
Okay, we can probably put it over there.
That'd be good. Yeah.
That would be good.
In other words, Privateer Press, if you're listening.
Yes. We're placing our order for the SioCast machine as we speak. Yeah, so as you were saying, there was a lot of changes to the rules. They're adding command cards, so kind of single use.
That to me sounded like the new Warhammer 40,000, where you had like I forget what they're called, and you would like the points, right? And it's just kind of like,
Yeah. So we'll see, and it's then one more thing to produce, because the biggest criticism I've heard of Mark III is that they were going crazy producing models. They didn't get the rule books out and the books that were updating the different factions models out in time. So people had all of these new models, and hobby shops were full of, their shelves were full, and no rules to play. Right. So it was very frustrating. They had a problem with that production and distribution. So that was a real turnoff. So hopefully they can get it right this time. And I don't know, but
this means like one of those things. Okay, we're up to version 4. If they're smart, as much as possible, the models from Mark III will be compatible with Mark IV. Right?
Yes,
like
I think that's they're trying.
I don't imagine there's that radical a change in the game, but it's like, okay, we don't have to put out Mark IV models because everyone has a decent amount. Here's just the new rules, right? And we can we don't have to rush to get these starter boxes set up or ready for the new players we're hopefully going to attract.
Yeah, I don't know, because they mentioned they're going to have kind of 2 ways to play. There would be a starter box, which is going to be Orgoth and Signar. And they were talking about 2 ways to play, like an unlimited and, let me see, unlimited and prime. So prime is like using the new rules, the new models, and all the new stats. Unlimited will be stats for everything, all the old stuff, which is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so you'll be able to use all existing models, and also with the new models as well.
So Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah. So
I mean, I said that, and maybe it's uncharitable, because for companies who have something like that, it's a smart move, right? Why alienate a lot of a portion of your player base who says, no, I'm not upgrading, I'm not going for the new rules. Allow them to continue to play.
Yeah, so I don't know, though. This doesn't seem like it's possible, though, because Games Workshop has woken up. And I think the only reason Privateer Press gained the ground that they did is because Games Workshop had no social media presence. They abandoned the tournament scenes, and like they were really fucking up. They've woken up, and they're very active now in social media, and they're paying attention to what customers are saying. And they're impossible to compete with because they're eating up everybody's hobby dollars.
Right. But depending on what Privateer Press does, GW may have burned goodwill with that, like Warhammer Plus, or like their new models being one pose where you can't convert shit, right? So if they were smart, Privateer, and I don't know if they have the ability, Privateer Press would maybe try and capitalize on that. Being like, okay, look, you also can't discount how rabid or not Privateer Press fans are, right? So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so I wish them well, and I think this is probably, if any company could do it or should do it, this might be a company that would move into licensing for 3D models and things to support. Right. Because if they could get people to pay for stuff, and we're like constantly adding new parts and innovations and things and selling them both as STLs or printed models, this might be the chance to do that. And that would be one step ahead of what anybody is doing, actually an established company. But who knows? I mean, maybe everyone's still shy about that, because once those files are out there,
I have to imagine that's what companies think, right? Like once we release official STLs, we have no control over them.
Right.
And I think the way to offset that, and who knows, the price might be, is to do the licensed 3D prints, right? Like we're still at a point where not everybody has a 3D printer, right? And they're still kind of rare. So the STLs being out, yes, means some people will be able to do it. Let's rely on the people who don't or are not going to pirate to buy the official SioCast or 3D printed stuff through our licensed partners. And maybe that'll be enough to kind of, counteract the loss we got on STLs.
Yeah, so I hope they figure something out. That would be fun to see them because the setting is fun and the RPG.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely not buying anything more for that, right?
Right.
Like I've bought way too much miniatures games recently. North Star Miniatures in September is coming out with a female barbarian kit.
Oh,
I'm
of course they are.
right?
Yeah.
Like Osprey War Games just came out with a second edition of Lion Rampant, which is like, and I'm just like, right? So like, no, there is too much stuff.
Too much.
Warmachine and Hordes, the setting is pretty cool. Not doing it. Absolutely, I can't. And if I do, just no permission to do something terrible to me, right? Like come in next week and say, well, I bought that Star kit. No, just yeah.
I'll split it with you.
No.
Oh man.
No, I still got to mortgage my house to pay off the Monster Hunter board game that's coming
right,
soon.
That's right.
No.
We got to clear some serious shelf
Yeah.
space for that too.
Yeah.
Oh man. And last but not least, as a matter of fact, I spoke with Ben from Bandit Camp on
Social media?
Discord.
There you go, Discord.
Discord. Yeah, one of them things. One of those things grandpas use. And oh my God. So we were going to have do an interview yesterday.
Right. Okay.
But there was we had to postpone. And so Monday I'm going to talk with Ben. And why would I be talking to Ben? Because Bandit Camp and he is the designer of Wicked Ones.
Oh, cool.
And Wicked Ones came out. There was a 2019 Kickstarter, and they played it safe at the time. And this was pre-pandemic too, but they said, okay, we're going to do print on demand fulfilled by Drive-Thru RPG and a PDF of this game. They produced a great game that turned out to be really popular. They did the smart thing and did a free PDF, like took out some of the content and the artwork, or not even much of the artwork, and did a free PDF, and it continued to gain in popularity. So they're going to go back, and they did Relic last year.
Okay.
So they're in the middle of finishing up Relic, which is a gorgeous like slipcase, multiple
nice.
volumes, kind of based on the Colossus game.
Okay.
That game where you're climbing on Colossus.
Right. Okay. Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus. Thank you. And so Wicked Ones is kind of based on Dungeon Keeper. So you're playing the monsters, and you're playing bad guys, and you're trying to keep the good guys from stealing your stuff.
Yep. Can you really call all them bad guys then?
Well, they do an interesting explanation of that, like how they kind of want you to play this. Like you're a B-movie villain. Right. You're not a sympathetic evil. You're not a sympathetic bad guy, and you're not a cartoonish bad guy. You're kind of that middle ground of like, yeah, you've got bad motivations, and you will do bad things to protect what's yours. And it's not like, oh, you're just misunderstood, and the good guys are actually the bad guys.
Like we're not going to do a sympathetic origin story next season, right?
Yeah, and they really lean into like the demons and demigods. Your power and magic and energy is based on demonic forces. So they keep underlining your affiliations kind of in this world. So it's a Forged in the Dark. A tabletop game. So it uses that system, and it has things like pillaging, rituals, concoctions, contraptions, discoveries in deep in the ground, dungeon rooms, traps, and creatures and minions. So basically a lot of like constructing traps and basically doing things to keep out the marauding adventurers. Yeah. And this new Kickstarter is also, there's going to be an offset print, nice hardcover edition of that, and it's going to include a standalone expansion of the game that is called Undead Awakening, where you're playing as rotting dead, and it's taking you out of the dungeon, and so you're kind of marauding across and sacking villages and things, but you're
slowly falling apart.
Slowly falling apart. So you're powerful, but you're losing that power, and there's kind of a final like a bell is tolling, and there's like an end times to your existence. So it sounds really fun, and the artwork, the artist they got, they have that's worked on both of these games is wonderful, and I think also did the Relic game.
Oh, nice.
So really good stuff, and they heavily support. I think because of the pandemic, and this was kind of a pandemic project along with Relic. They produce really good VTT assets, so supporting both Roll20 and Foundry for their games. So that's always a pledge option, or a something you can do is get a all digital version of this. Right. So the free PDF for Wicked Ones is available right now as we speak. So you can go check that out for free and see what you think of the game. And if you like it, get it for your bookshelf and have a really nice copy, not a washed out POD, but a really nice offset print with a nice ribbon bookmark and all that good stuff. And they're doing dice. They did custom dice
cool.
and everything, so they're like kind of color coded, so they're very easy to recognize the states of your role.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so high quality everything. And so we'll be talking to Ben about kind of the origins of this idea, how the company, and they're based in Japan, so no time zone difference. They're in
Nice.
So
I
that's.
think I may have played a prototype of this game like a couple years ago.
Oh really?
Yep.
Oh nice. So we'll be talking, and if you want to get in on that interview, maybe we can.
Oh no, shit!
Get it over
Monday I
lunchtime?
gotta work late.
Oh okay.
Summer intensive course.
Oh no.
Full on. Half the instructors are gone.
Oh no.
Staff doesn't get time off. Yeah.
You can just call in sick.
I could.
Like everyone wants to. So it's a 6x9 hardcover, and it's going to be a slipcase, including Wicked Ones and the Undead
cool.
Awakening, and so keep an eye out for that, and look, keep a look on the channel. Look out on the channel for Ben from Bandit Camp, and I will have a little conversation.
Yeah.
And if Chris is on his lunch on your lunch break,
I'll at least be watching, possibly.
All right, but so that's it for this week.
Yeah. So, where can people find you?
Oh my God! I never expected this. So I'm still drawing my single panel gag cartoon, Domestic Abuse, and that's Abuse Cartoons on both Twitch and YouTube. And I'm streaming to Twitter last week. I don't know what that means, but I actually did that. And you can see that cartoon on gocomics.com/domestic abuse. And this is the 20th anniversary of the cartoon, so there's thousands of them for you to read.
What metal is that?
I don't know. It's an unvaluable stone, some sort of
Quartz.
rare wood. I don't know, like an exotic hardwood. And where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always. That's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm spitting out pixel art stuff for
nice.
assets that I've purchased and have ideas on how to use, but nothing solid.
All right. Cool. And what we're doing here with the weekly is you can support that by going to patreon.com/upturntable, and upturntable.com is where you'll find all of this and what we're doing. If you become a patron, we've got an RSS feed of all of this banter and dialogue straight into your ear holes and a little bit cleaned up, so it's not so
not your ears, the audio,
not so not so air conditioning. And and thank you to everyone that's supporting us, the members on YouTube as well. And if you look, there are a few new emojis. There's both a Chris and a Jeremy emoji in there.
I can only imagine what my emoji looks like. Oh, geez.
But we can swap some out. But yes, and this so new pledge levels and everything. And thank you again, K5, last week for pitching in for the dedicated follower free memberships. Yeah,
nice.
that was really excellent. So everyone's got those for a month, and then Chris is now K5 just spammed Chris's emoji. Yes, and mine as well.
Look at this.
Brutal. All right. So thanks for joining us. We'll do this again next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye. All right.
I have to go look at my emoji. All right. Nice.
All right. So be right back. All right. I don't know. I don't know how useful this audio is going to be. There's so many horns blazing and trucks. So yeah, hopefully the mic didn't pick too much of that up. Let me turn Chris off just to help that. All right, but we're back here for some chat. So yeah, the inflatable. I saw the BattleTech inflatable. There was some funny on the BattleTech subreddit. As they were inflating it, people were taking pictures as they were trying to get that thing inflated, and it was pretty humorous. But yeah, the usual promotion outside of GenCon. Orcus Dorcas is at GenCon now. I saw that on Orcus's channel. Yeah, I'll put a link to Orcus's channel in the description. Great channel and excellent podcast. You guys have to listen to the. I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but I will find it and put a link as well. Orcus does a podcast that's really good as well, and now it will be all GenCon stuff. All right, very good. Good to see you, Orcus. Cool. I totally missed that. Wow. Usable in the game. So how's it going, Matt and Orcus? It's been a while. Glad to see you. Dragon but saw the notification. I thought I'd pop in for a bit. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's good to see you. Yeah, I really like you do a good podcast. You may not be listening any longer, but you do a good podcast, Orcus. Very good stuff. Nice. Oh, I can't imagine what it's like, because this is like 2 years of nothing, so people are probably back in full force. Oh, Dungeon Crawl Classics van is sweet. Oh, nice. Saw the van. Very cool. Hey, K5, how's it going? Thanks for spamming the emojis. Spice Club. Yes, it does sound like a deodorant subscription service, doesn't it? Oh man, yeah, I can't believe they did that. That's right. Yeah, I can't remember if any of you guys remember what convention was that where they literally told attendees, please shower before you come. Yeah, Comic-Con got pretty ripe too. There was some brutal, because a lot of the times they would queue people outside in the San Diego summer heat and then bring them inside to a hall that the air conditioning couldn't keep up with. That was brutal. Frank Miller NFTs, of course. Yeah, you can just convince some people of anything. Yeah, first English edition. I'm excited for the Free League release, the Dragonbane. The name isn't great, but I think I should have brought that up in the best part of the main part of the cast. Best part. Matt even said to me, yeah, it's like you can't do something and something. They can't do dragons and demons. They can't just directly translate it because, basically Wizards of the Coast owns the ampersand, I'm sure, in games. You couldn't have a Tunnels and Trolls or anything now that would even suggest anything similar to D&D just because of the size of their legal team. And also demons. Yeah, demons you probably... Although I think the power of the, religious right, the Christian conservatives would be not as strong, I guess maybe in Indiana, but not as strong as they once were. So, yeah, original was a BRP derivative. Yeah, so, and thank God it's not a 5e game. Yeah, I hope they do distinguish themselves and it can actually be a choice. It can actually be a good choice between, and it kind of position themselves in between what Pathfinder is doing and what 5e is doing. That'd be great if they could find a niche, having an interesting enough setting, accessible enough mechanics. That would be great. But I'm excited by it. I'm excited, all the people that are involved, I'd really want to see what they do with it. And yeah, Johann's work is amazing. Yeah, he's the one who's Johann Egerkrantz did the Viasen book that the RPG was based on that Free League produced. And I'm gonna do a flip through of the England and Ireland, like Britain and Ireland expansion of that just came out. So to add the beyond the Nordic into the Irish and British folklore, so should be good. Oh, Privateer Press should partner with Mantic. Yeah, they should. Hopefully they're doing that at GenCon right now. They're talking to companies that have a presence in Europe and Asia, and getting somebody to produce something. Yeah, that would be great. Nice. Yeah, that would be really good to get something going, because they're kind of assuming a bit, to have set up a base in Europe, set up a base in Asia to produce a game that who knows how much excitement there is for it, because it's been a while. So I picked up some of the Mark III stuff just as everyone was getting out of it in Japan. I bought a starter box and some of the books, and put together like a little Menoth force for Mark III Warmachine. Never played. Kind of got really turned off by a lot of people doing videos and things for Warmachine. And I've even heard someone criticize the game for this, is you kind of got this analysis paralysis and this like non-committal thing by the way they set up the customization, and changing the arms changed what jack it was. People just never glued arms on things and said, this thing with no arms, I'm playing as this. And you either had to magnetize or, buy multiple sets of things. So people just didn't. And so he was criticizing that even in Seattle, the Warmachine scene was a bunch of gray, unpainted, armless, steam-powered robots. And people like really over picking apart the rules. So there was like a correct way to play every one of the factions, a list that was dominant, that is the only way that you should be playing. And so it really felt like some of those collectible card games or living card games with an over-analysis of it, where there's only certain ways that, there's just kind of like killer. The rules have been broken down enough that the system's a little bit broken, and there's a specific way to play each of these things that's unbeatable, or it's just unfun. So it seems like some of the creativity and stuff went away. So we'll see what happens with this latest edition. I don't know if simplification is the best idea, but definitely focusing, like not having that huge number of SKUs and focusing on what you should buy, and having it make more sense for force building and stuff would help. I didn't like the creepy kind of collectible card game feeling of having so many different boxes with so many little things, and you can add this to this and add this to that. I just never wanted to commit myself, and then by that time I was already looking at 40K. So Matt said, so people said it was a solved game, not cool. Yeah, people need to just have fun. Yeah, definitely. I really hate that that's the negative part of what the internet does in a lot of ways, is that the idea of like a solved game is it gets torn apart and maybe not actively enough updated and errataed, and doing like ban lists and things, because if you don't have a super active tournament scene, I guess there's not really any good reason to do that. And people had just kind of pulled the rules apart. And so when I was looking to build a decent list for the force that I chose, it was such a turnoff. I was like, okay, this is basically what I should do. And it didn't feel like there was much wiggle room, and there wasn't a community to play it with. So, hey, Alvaro, how's it going? Nice. But so we will see what happens. I wish Privateer Press the best. I think their setting is great. They have great artwork and stuff. And at least I hope they continue their RPG. The Iron Kingdoms RPG stuff is really fun. And yeah, there's miniatures to support that now. And I don't know, it's SioCast. We haven't, Corvus Belli is moving into that. That was the Warzone Eternals approach. And that was also Chronopia, the new Chronopia is doing that. So there are people that are actively moving into that. I hope that that's a good solution. I hope it's affordable. I hope it gets the price down on things, gets things close to people, gets people a nearby distribution and stuff. I hope that's good. So Matt said, literally, I can only play Puerto Rico with friends these days. Right. Yes, there are certain board games that... So kind of like playing blackjack, people get mad when you don't play the way they think you should. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and there's so much of that in online gaming and everything. I don't want that to come to the table. Yeah, that seems to happen a lot too with cooperative games. The few times that I've played cooperative games that don't have hidden agendas or anything, where you're just trying to do something together, there's always someone trying to run the show, either someone that's soloed the game at home or has, read and overanalyzed the rules, and it's like, no, you should do this. No, do you have this? Do you have this card? Do you have this card? You should do this. And that's really not a fun way to play. Like, they just want to solve the puzzle of the game. They just want to beat the mission or whatever. And they're not willing to just like let people make mistakes or do wrong plays that they know are wrong, and then trying to compensate for it or trying to somehow make up for it with their like kind of meta knowledge of the game. I think that would be a better way to play and more fun for everybody, because you're probably going to fail, but it was close. You almost pulled it out. You were playing with one hand behind your back and you still managed to pull it out. That I think approach is a bit better. And I've had some really negative experiences with a lot of the co-op games where someone is just like, no, I'm just trying to run the show. So basically they're soloing it and just having people, move the tokens and play the cards that they tell them to. So that can be, a little negative. Yeah, alpha gamers. Yeah, make co-op games into solo games. Exactly, Matt. Yeah, that's exactly my experience as well. Yeah, it's just people just have to back off. And it even gets like that. I can imagine 5e is like that a lot too, because there's so much information now about what's the best druid build and what's the best this or that for 5e online. What are the best spells for these sorts of situations? What's overpowered and you should always, it's game breaking, so definitely bring it every time. There's so much of that I can imagine that is happening in 5e at 5e tables now, is that people are just spoiling it by saying that's how you're gonna, you're speccing your fighter. Alvaro said it's hard for some people to cooperate in cooperative games. Yes, that is very true. Yeah, and that has got to have spread to tabletop or RPGs as well. Tabletop RPGs. I can just imagine people really screwing that up. Just wanting to give commands instead of advice, instead of wanted or unwanted advice, and instead of letting people make mistakes and just trying to compensate or teach them as they go. Yeah, it's funny. Matt said the 5e equivalent is all the rage about the movie druid turning into an owl bear. That is not a beast. That is a monster. Druids cannot turn into monsters. Yeah, I was so offended. And that's their depiction of a tiefling. I mean, come on, that's barely a tiefling. Yeah, it's going to be funny as much as they try to put fan service into. 5e might just be, or Dungeons and Dragons in general, might be dangerous territory to tread in, because there are so many very serious players, and not people that want to just have fun with. Now the normies are enjoying our setting or our terminology or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be fun to see the reception of that movie, and they're already. I mean, this is just the first trailer, but they're already like pitching it as the anti-superhero summer style movie. But it's out in March, so it's kind of that weird early spring season. So it doesn't sound like they have a lot of confidence in it, because they're not going to put it right up against a Marvel or some sort of Disney release or whatever. They're keeping it in March. I think it was March of next year. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Alvaro said, it's because they are borrowing stuff from Pathfinder 2. Yeah, the owlbear is an animal in Pathfinder 2. That's right. And also, they got caught on one of their posters. They got caught using Pathfinder art for a specifically Pathfinder. I forget, it was it was one of those like a brain with legs type monsters, and it was taken right from the Pathfinder bestiary. And they I got caught on one of the movie posters. Just, I don't know, Google imaging and snagging. That's really funny. A Dungeon Crawl Classics movie would have to be like an Oliver Stone movie. That would be great. Oliver Stone directs Dungeon Crawl Classics. That would be good. So maybe there is some confusion with the people producing it. They just fantasy roleplay is fantasy roleplay. They don't really know. They know there's a dragon ampersand in their game, but other than that, they don't really know the difference. I'm sure it's just all production houses and marketing people just Google imaging fantasy monster. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow, that's cool. Orcus is at GenCon. I'll have to listen to the... I'm totally blanking. I'm so sorry, Orcus, that I'm blanking on the podcast name. But it's great, and they have wonderful voices. It's just wonderful to listen to. Like, the content is good, but also they have wonderful voices online. So we're going to get a lot of GenCon content, I'm sure, on that cast. Nice. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's just going to be, it'll probably be that same thing where they do this, they attempt to make a Dungeons and Dragons movie again, then they make a second one, and then the next one straight to streaming, and yeah, it's just going to be in decline. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk too that like HBO Max and things are moving away. Like they're stopping a lot of projects, and they're stopping support of a lot of things. So I think we're going to see a kind of contraction of this the Wild West days of production for streaming platforms and stuff, and everyone's tightening their belts because Netflix is losing subscribers and everything. So it's not infinite money anymore. Yeah, I will. I'll post it in the links. Yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, it's a great cast. Oh man, but yeah. So GenCon, of course, right away they screw it up with their exclusionary inclusion. Everybody is going to take everything wrong. It's just impossible. Yeah, because you don't want to. I mean, just if they. I guess if it's probably just, yeah, I don't know, I won't go into it too much, but if it would have been a Pacific Islander lounge or, West Asian, game design lounge, there probably would have been a different response. I just have a feeling that it's America's, and the Midwest, especially like the middle part of America's sensitivities. And I have sympathy for both sides of that because I'm in both sides of that, and both sides of those, both of those people don't like me. Both of those groups don't like me, so I don't have I'm not in either of those groups, but I can really see the kind of conservative Midwestern reaction, and then I can also see this is something that's happening. Let's support it and focus on it because they're doing that online. I mean, on digital spaces, itch.io and DriveThruRPG does focus on specific types of creators, and nobody says, well, that's excluding everybody else. There's always a spotlight on types of creators and types of games. Yeah, it's definitely just best to ignore, but we need content. See, that's the thing, is I really want to be careful about the content that we choose for this cast. And there's stuff that I love to, get Chris's opinion or just kind of, poke at Chris and get some funny reactions or responses. But at the same time, I don't want this to be a little hate machine that is just, complaining and angry about everything and how everything sucks. Because why are we in this hobby? Why are we doing everything if it's just garbage and it's falling apart and it's full of bad people? And yeah, it's like that. It doesn't make any sense. So I really do want to focus on positive things like Wicked Ones, like the Wicked Ones Kickstarter, and not the controversies, because it's always going to be there, and there's always people that are going to feel ownership of something, and it's always it will be like that forever, and eventually it will come around until then the BIPOC community will be offended by intrusions. Once that's an established enough gaming genre, it's very funny. I am an evil person for poking Chris. Yes, Miguel, that's probably true. But yeah, all the 5e content is usually just because, it gets an eye roll every time. But I think focusing on positive things and creators that are doing good works, and and if you look at the free version of Wicked Ones, it's a really well put together book. There's emphasis on safety tools, and like I said, there was a great explanation of you are playing evil. It's not sympathetic evil. It's not cartoon evil. We want you to have this, find this tone for the game because this is what we intended. And so very much like Dungeon Keeper. You're just trying to do your own thing, but you're using the forces of darkness to make it possible. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap things up. But yeah, I appreciate it. And sorry if we went through, there was a lot of topics this week. Sorry if we went through a little fast, but I hope everything is going to be okay, and some good things will come out of GenCon, at least some good meetings. I know. So we were talking to Frog Games in Japan, and they are at GenCon this year too. So they are looking for distribution to get their English versions of Japanese RPGs out there, and we might cooperate with them to help that. So that might be good too. I'll be talking to Ben on Monday from Bandit Camp about Wicked One. So you get like a long kind of in-depth explanation of the origin of that game and everything. And Ben, at least from chat, Ben sounds like a really great guy. So it'll be really fun to talk with him. And also we might be talking to the My Mini Factory CEO. I got an email about that. So we talked about, something we talked about with the great metaverse. So bringing physical things from the digital world. We might be talking to My Mini Factory about that. So that would be good. So thanks everyone. Miguel and Orcus and K5 and Matt, as always, wielding those wrenches. And what did I just do? And could there be anything more useless than the mini player on the desktop app for for YouTube? And everything, everybody, Crispin, Alvaro, everybody that was in the chat, I appreciate you guys hanging out every week. It's always a good time. And yeah, I will put a link to Orcus Dorcas's RPG Shenanigans. It's not what it's called, but that's the account name for YouTube. And yeah, and follow, subscribe to Orcus's channel on YouTube. He posts some good stuff there and leads into the podcast and stuff. So everybody take care, and we'll do this again next week, and we'll stay positive and not just bag on Gen Con and all the crazy reactions online and Twitter drama and all that. So take care, everyone, and see you next time. Goodbye.